You ever have one of those days where, before it even starts, something ridiculous is about to go down? That was me standing on my deck with barbecue tongs in hand, watching 3 police cruisers crawl down the narrow lakefront road, lights flashing like we were about to have a full-blown hostage situation instead of a Saturday cookout. The sirens cut through the lazy summer air, echoing off the pines, and suddenly my peaceful afternoon party felt like a scene out of a cop show. 20-some friends froze with plates of ribs and red Solo cups, all of us just trying to piece together what the hell was going on. And there, practically vibrating with righteous joy, was Karen Peterson, our illustrious HOA president, standing in the middle of the parking lot with her finger pointed straight at me like she was conducting a firing squad. It would have been comical if it hadn't been so infuriating. Behind her, the rest of the HOA board stood like backup singers, arms crossed and faces pinched with anticipation, probably rehearsing their lines about community standards and peaceful enjoyment in the bathroom mirror all morning. I set my tongs down and took a deep breath, feeling that mix of dread and amusement you get when you realize your life's about to turn into neighborhood theater. The lead officer, Sergeant Williams, graying at the temples with that patient I've seen it all look, raised a hand, half in greeting, half as a warning to stand back. His 2 partners flanked him, hands casually resting on their belts like they were bracing for a brawl. Karen didn't even wait for them to reach the deck before launching into her speech. She was practically tripping over her words, telling the cops how I'd been violating noise ordinances, trespassing on HOA-managed property, and my personal favorite, single-handedly destroying the tranquility of Pine Lake. I swear if she could have, she'd have had me arrested for failure to respect the vibe. But here's where things got fun. See, I'd been carrying this little folded document around since Karen first tried to lay down the law on my own lawn. The deed. With all its official seal signatures, the whole 9 yards. I pulled it out, held it up, and with the calmest voice I could muster said, "Actually, officers, I think they're the ones trespassing. This deed proves I own the house, the land, the lake, and, yep, even the parking lot where they're all standing. Let me tell you, you've never seen a group of people deflate so fast." The officer's eyebrows hit the stratosphere. Karen's face morphed from smug to stunned to something close to panic in about 2 seconds flat. But let me back up a sec, because none of this drama was what I pictured when I bought this place 6 months back. I was a tech consultant burned out from 15 years of conference calls and deadlines, just wanting a quiet weekend spot to fish and read. The realtor showed me this little house on a peninsula ringed by old trees and overlooking a crystal lake, and I was sold in under 5 minutes. The price seemed suspiciously low, but the agent said the owner, a sweet old guy, needed to sell fast, and the title was clean as a whistle. Turns out clean meant more land than I knew what to do with, including riparian rights to the whole dang lake and a strip the neighborhood had used as parking since the Carter administration. The HOA had been treating it as common property for decades, mowing it, budgeting for it, even throwing their annual block party there. Nobody ever thought to check the paperwork, because why would they? That's just how things had always been. At first, everything was fine. I minded my own business, read on the deck, took walks, occasionally waved at my new neighbors. The HOA seemed harmless if a bit uptight about grass height and paint colors. I didn't pay much attention until I bought a jet ski. That was my first real crime. Apparently having too much fun on the lake was the HOA's version of a capital offense. The party started small, just me and a couple friends from the city. We'd tear around the water grill steaks, play old school rock, nothing crazy. But word spread as it does, and soon my weekends were the highlight reel for anyone wanting a break from city grind. Still, we kept things respectful, cut the music by 10, kept the trash picked up. But you know how it goes, it only takes one person to decide they hate seeing other people enjoy themselves. Enter Karen. She showed up one Sunday morning looking like she was about to audit my taxes. Introduced herself, slid a copy of the HOA bylaws across my porch table, and launched into her spiel about community decorum. It was polite, but there was steel under every word. She pointed to rules about noise, guest parking, water access, like I was some college kid throwing keggers. I listened, nodded, then said, "Look, I never signed on to your association. I'm not bound by those rules." Her smile got about 20 degrees colder. She insisted all lakefront properties were automatic members. I asked for paperwork. She promised to bring it. That was the start of our little Cold War. Over the next month, she dropped by with various documents, none of which actually tied me to the HOA. Meanwhile, my get-togethers kept growing. Folks brought their kids, tried out jet skis, we made it a thing. And Karen kept escalating now with backup her counsel in tow, nitpicking the number of cars, the volume, the audacity of people having fun. Every time I told her the parking lot's mine, the lake's mine, check the deed, she ignored it. Then came the infamous Saturday. Sun out, water-perfect burgers, sizzling, a classic summer kickoff. I had about 20 friends up the lake buzzing music a little louder than usual. That's when Karen stormed across the parking lot, phone glued to her ear, glaring at me like I'd started a riot. She hung up, marched over, and declared loud enough for everyone to hear, "This ends now. I'm calling the police." "You're done." She dialed 911 right in front of me, calmly explaining that a large disruptive party was underway on community property, and the organizer, yours truly, refused to comply. While she and her crew set up camp in the parking area, looking for all the world like they were planning a siege, I slipped inside to grab the deed from my file cabinet. My lawyer, bless her, had insisted on a super thorough title search when I bought the place. Turns out I didn't just own the house, I owned the lake, all rights to recreation, and yep, the entire strip of community parking. The previous owner let folks use it, sure, but legally, it had always been private. Back outside, Karen was in full general mode, rallying her troops and prepping her speech for the cops. When the cruisers finally pulled in, she was first to greet them, spinning her story about how I'd been ignoring legitimate requests and turning Pine Lake into Daytona Beach. The lead cop listened patient, but clearly sizing up the whole scene. He glanced at my quiet, barbecue-scented deck, then at the nervous pack of HOA commandos, then back at me. Finally, he walked over. "Mind if I hear your side?" "Of course," I said, staying cool. "I'm Jake, this is my property, and we're just having a friendly get-together. No laws broken, no actual complaints from anyone but the HOA. Then with perfect timing, I handed him the deed. "You might want to look at this." He studied the papers, eyebrows climbing higher as he read. Officer Chen and Rodriguez joined him, reading over his shoulder. Silence. Then, "So, you own the lake and this parking lot?" "That's right," I said, showing them the survey. "The boundaries extend way past what folks assume. The HOA's been using it, but it's never been theirs." Officer Rodriguez tried not to laugh. He could see the irony. The trespassers were the ones who'd called the cops for trespassing. Sergeant Williams called Karen over. She approached like a champion, expecting a medal, ready to watch me get cuffed. "Officers, I hope you've explained to Mr. Morrison that—" He cut her off. "Ma'am, according to this deed, you and your board are standing on private property, not community land." The color drained from Karen's face. Her board stared, speechless. One of them sputtered, "But where will we park?" I almost felt bad, but not really. I laid it out. "Look, I'm not trying to be a jerk. But if the HOA keeps harassing me, parking's off limits. If you want to keep using it, we set ground rules. You apologize, withdraw your complaints, and admit you have no authority over my property." Karen looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. "And if we agree, then you get parking, and I keep my weekends, no more drama." Silence while they all did the math. Finally, Karen nodded, defeated. That week, I got a letter from the HOA's lawyer. They withdrew their complaints, acknowledged my rights, and the no authority bit was in black and white. I had survey markers installed just to make it painfully obvious whose land was whose. The following Saturday, my Independence Day party was the biggest yet. People I'd never met stopped by to congratulate me. Turns out I wasn't the only one tired of Karen's reign. Even a couple board members showed up sheepishly, bringing potato salad. Here's the twist I didn't expect. With the threat of HOA overreach gone, the parties started drawing in neighbors instead of just my city friends. Suddenly, old grudges faded. The lake was alive, kids learning to jet ski, potlucks, laughter echoing across the water. Even Karen, after weeks of avoiding me, showed up one evening. She asked if we could talk. Sat down on my deck watching the sunset, and this shocked me, actually apologized. She admitted she'd lost sight of what the HOA was supposed to do, and she'd been wrong. I just smiled. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and sometimes you end up hosting the neighborhood's best party on land you didn't even know you owned a year ago. That private property party approved sign I posted, it's still there. Folks respect it, and honestly, things have never been better. But hey, maybe next summer, Karen will throw the first pitch at the Lake Pine BBQ cook-off. Stranger things have happened. So what do you think? Was I right to stand my ground, or did I just make things worse for everyone? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me if you've ever tangled with an HOA, and let's hear your best stories about neighborhood drama and what real community is supposed to look like.